Hello, welcome to the Construction Record Podcast. I'm digital media editor Warren Frey, and with me today I have
Harold Reinders, Chief Executive Officer for Reinders Group.
And we're talking about safety culture today. So to start with, let's get your definition of what safety culture is.
Yeah, well, safety culture or culture is about, I guess, the beliefs and the attitudes that our people have. So it's not a set of checklists and measurable items. It's attitudes. It's the way we believe and the way we live out safety.
Was there a particular event, because you've developed your own safety culture, was there an event that inspired that, or was it more sort of a gradual process?
Well, it's probably a combination of both. It is a gradual process. I think any culture is always gradual, whether it's a culture within your business about your integrity or how you do your business. So safety in the same way is something that builds over time with gradual development. You know, if I think back, our company going back to the 67, back in those days, culture of safety was quite a bit different than it is today. So, you know, as we've kind of advanced over time and new legislation requirements have come in, that's helped develop that culture. But on the other side of the coin, there are events, you know, and there are situations that have happened within our company where there's either been a serious safety incident or we've seen one within the industry that's really been, a catalyst for change. So you know, we learn from mistakes and you make changes, and that also really has an impact on your culture.
Okay, and you say you have a unique approach to your relationship with employees and approach to workplace safety. What does that mean specifically?
Yeah, I'd say you know, for us, part of our culture is we are a family. Our family is the Reinders Group, and it goes beyond just our employees. We realize that each worker has a family. Maybe it's a mom and dad, maybe it's kids, it's a wife. So decisions and impacts on their work also affects them at home. And so we really look beyond just, you know, the individual as a Reinders an employee, but the extent of the relationship outside of that. So we really value people, and you know, that's a primary part of our business. It's a core value within our business, and so obviously keeping them safe and ensuring that they go home safely every night is a key component of our business.
So what's the role of senior leadership at Reinders in developing a safety culture?
Yeah, well, I can tell you safety culture cannot happen unless it comes from the top. So for me, my executive team and myself, we take safety very seriously. It has to come from the top down. So, you know, you can see businesses that have a culture whereby, you know, maybe their values are not very strong. They lack integrity. And that usually stems from the leader. Or one that has high integrity that stems and comes from that top leader that drives the organization. And so with safety as well, it starts with me, and then it starts with our executive team, and it works down through the organization. And people who, you know, don't fall in with that culture, they find out very quickly that they don't fit, and we see that they don't fit, and then either they move on or we help them move on.
And that's within Maple, but what about other construction leaders? What advice would you give them to adopt the same sort of culture that you have?
Well, I think number one, they got to take it seriously. It's so easy to go into work every day and you know, we're obviously in the business for construction. We're not in the business for safety. Safety is a component of that. But it's easy to forget that. And so it starts with that leader. So whoever the owners are, if you don't take it seriously, then it's not going to happen. You are the ones that drive the culture within the organization. And so other leaders need to take that seriously. They need to lead by example. Starts with them first.
And getting back to your own company, how have you improved safety culture over the years? How is it? What kind of a process has it been?
Yeah, I think, you know, every year we are constantly looking at our safety program, ensuring that we abide with the regulations and the legislation that's put out, but we look beyond that as well. So, legislation and regulations are great, and tracking numbers and stats are great, but what are we doing for tomorrow to make us that much better for safety? So we have a constant process of being better at safety. Our safety team, we every year we implement a safety week where our employees are involved, and it's not just the leadership saying this is what we're going to do, and it's not just our safety people saying this is giving the training. We actually engage all of our staff, from our superintendents to labor who are out on the field, and we have them share with each other. So we make sure that it's actually going through the fiber of the company, and it's not just checking boxes, but actually living it out.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the industry should, what kind of path is it on in adopting safety culture, and where are some areas of improvement still? Because I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be an area for improvement. You think back, I just watched a documentary on the weekend about the Hoover Dam, and you think about their drive for executing and completing that project on time, and they lost something like 100 people, 100 workers were killed on that project. And so that culture was about getting the job done, not doing it in a way that saved people's lives. Today we're much different. Obviously, we have involvement with legal entities, obviously government agencies, and we're trying to work together to make our industry a safer industry. So there's always a lot to be worked on. I think number one is we need to actually work in a closer relationship with those government agencies, whereby we don't see them as a policing unit, but actually as a participant in making the industry better. So I think that's got to be a real focus. But COVID has kind of showcased a couple of things. Obviously, in the last 2 years, we've wrestled through probably the biggest safety incident of our careers, having to deal with this pandemic. And some things are coming out that are going to be a real important aspect of it. It's not just the aspect of physically injuring ourselves. How are we injuring ourselves from a mental health perspective? And so I think that's going to be a big focus over the next while is dealing with the mental health issues. And they can be pretty extensive. That translates into things like chemical abuse and alcohol abuse. And then that puts in question a person's competency and capability to be working on site. And so we have to give tools to our people to actually ensure that those who are working on site are competent and capable of doing the job and keeping themselves and others safe. So I think that's going to be a big focus area in the next couple of years as well.
And you're not only doing all this in a vacuum, you're part of the Ontario General Contractors Association, and you're in the League of Champions, and they have an overall plan to improve safety culture in 2022. Maybe you could go into what that's all about.
Yeah, so I think just being part of an organization like that, the OGCA or League of Champions, whether it's a construction association in Alberta or BC or any of the other provinces, it's really important for us to be involved because that's where we can make change happen. Just sharing with each other. And I got to say that OGCA has been fantastic and bringing contractors together to share best practices for one. And I think that that's an ongoing process. But looking at 2022, I think some of the areas, one of the things that is coming out is a real focus actually on safety culture, the culture itself. And there's a program that we as a company have volunteered to be participating in pilot project, which is the SCSMIS program. And basically it's a survey. And as a leader, I've got hundreds of workers across the country working for me. And I believe that we have a safe culture, but how do I know that? And so when we heard about this program, we wanted to dive right into that because it's a program that actually goes out and surveys our people and checks in and says, are they actually living out and abiding by the culture that we say we do? And so for me as a leader, I want to see that. And as the Ontario General Contractors and League of Champions, that's a key focus area for us, is how can we promote and improve the safety culture within each organization and within the industry. So I think that's one key part. The other key piece, certainly talking with some of the other leaders, is this focus on worker competency and ensuring that they are not just trained, but they're also competent to do the work.
Okay, and you mentioned COVID beforehand. Do you think that's made safety awareness higher overall? I think it kind of has to because we're all wearing masks and making sure we stay away from other people. But generally speaking, in terms of safety awareness, have you seen that sort of one bleeds into the other, I guess?
Yeah, there's no question. I think obviously it's a health issue, and certainly a safety issue, and we've learned an incredible amount in the last 2 years in terms of how we act as an industry. How do we make our site safe? And it's given us new tools, I think, as well, new ways to look at that health and safety and how we manage people and our workers that come onto site. But there's a bad side to that coin as well, and I think that there's an element where maybe it took the total focus of us. It took away from maybe the focus of safety in other areas, and so that's certainly something that we as a company and within our organization we talked a lot about to make sure that we didn't drop those safety requirements and those safety components of our business at the cost of just focusing on COVID-19. I think that as we move forward, COVID-19 obviously is becoming less and less a risk, and it's reducing in terms of, or we seem to have a better ability to manage our sites and protect our workers. But going forward, we just have to make sure that we are not forgetting about other aspects of safety.
We talked about mental health and COVID, and those are things that are definitely on the minds of just the general public. But what are some safety culture concerns that are not quite being discussed yet, but are definitely things you can see on the horizon?
Yeah, I certainly think that the mental health is probably the biggest one. That is definitely, and I don't think we fully understand yet how deep that is. We're going to have to be very cautious and careful as we move forward. We have to keep that in mind and give the tools to our people to first off, we're going to have to really give training to those leaders who are on site to really be able to identify that, because mental health is a real difficult issue, and it's a challenge that we're all facing, whether we're on a project job site or working in an office. So I think coming out of COVID, that is probably going to be the primary issue. Obviously, there's some advancements in technology that are really going to help us as well, and I think that there'll be a focus on that and technology to continue to improve our safety.
Any final words to the industry on safety culture that you'd like? I mean, you're talking to the industry now, so what would you like them to think about? What should they keep in mind all the time about safety culture?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a couple things, and we as a company have grown from a small company to a medium to large company, and as we've grown, our focus on safety really became evident that is a key component to our success. And you see that with a lot of the larger big contractors in Canada. They've got very strong safety programs, and some of the smaller ones may not see that as critical as they really need to. And I think there has to be a greater focus on promoting safety within the industry, right across the industry, whether you're doing $1 million in revenue a year or $1 billion a year. At the end of the day, listen, we all want to see our people go home safe. So I would strongly encourage groups. It doesn't matter what size you are, get involved. Get involved with your local construction association. Get involved with a group like the League of Champions. The League of Champions, I'm on that board, and the reason I'm on that board is because it is about promoting safety culture. It is about saying, listen, as a leader, as an owner of a company, as the chief executive, it sits squarely on my shoulders. And whether you're the leader of $1 billion company or the leader of $1 million company, you are responsible. And so the best way to get help is to be part of a group, be part of a League of Champions that actually really pushes for that. So that's what I would like to say to the industry. And I think listen, we've come a long ways since the Hoover Dam days when, it was budgeted, deaths were budgeted, which is, sad that that actually was happening, to where we are today. Where will we be in 10 years from now? I think that that's the vision we need to look forward to. And it's kind of exciting to think that we can advance even more.
Harold, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, all right, Warren, thank you for your time.